This is Fear Street, the beginning. It contains the very first four Fear Street books, which is The New Girl, Surprise Party, The Overnight, and Missing. I've just currently finished reading the very first one, The New Girl, and this is my first time reading this book and first time reading a Fear Street book as well. I plan on getting through as many of them as possible and trying to collect as many as possible as well. I was really excited to check this out because it's the first time I've read anything that R.L. Stine has done outside of Goosebumps, so I was really intrigued to see the kind of tonal difference and the kind of the darker tone, and to actually, the fact that the books actually have death and things like this in them versus Goosebumps, which obviously always kind of teeter-tots around those kinds of subjects because of the fact that the target audience is much younger. Of course, the target audience for Fear Street in general is much older, teens and onwards. I really love the Fear Street movies, the trilogy, not the latest one, the fourth one, which I think is Prom Queen, right, on Netflix. I really didn't enjoy that as much. I thought it was very much kind of predictable, and whether that's just because it followed the book a bit more closer, or maybe that's just how the book is, I don't know, I'll find out when I get there. But yeah, it just didn't play out as well, or as successful as the original trilogy on that fourth film. But I really loved the original trilogy, so I had a thought, and I had an idea, and I was like, let me check out the Fear Street books because it's clearly something that I'm probably going to be interested in. Straight out of the gate, the first few kind of pages, the first chapter of this book, I was getting serious Twilight vibes because of the love interest of the main character and another person, the new girl, right? The person that the whole story is based around and all of that sort of stuff. But that makes sense, right? Because the target demographic for something like Fear Street and the target demographic for something like Twilight are the same, right? They coexist within the same style and genre and world and all that sort of stuff. So I guess it's inevitable that there might be a little bit of a crossover in these things, right? But that's not a bad thing. I actually quite enjoyed. It's a bit of a guilty pleasure as far as Twilight and stuff like that's concerned, so I'm not complaining at all. The book's definitely thicker and longer. You can't really tell because this is all of them, so it's a super thick book. But where that little kind of homemade bookmark is the end of the book I was just reading. So yeah, definitely longer than a Goosebumps book, that is for sure. Definitely more words on the page, I should say. Definitely a lot more in depth in its storytelling because of the age demographic. Yeah, all of these things are obvious, right? But overall, I actually really enjoyed it. It was one of those things where the story is quite obvious. I feel like it doesn't really hide much from the beginning. You kind of sort of get the idea of the antagonist of the story, like who she is, who she might be, where she might come from, what the gist of how it might end, things like this. It's somewhat obvious or somewhat predictable, but at the same time, because of R.L. Stine's genius storytelling, it still keeps you intrigued. It still keeps you thinking, okay, well, I have a feeling this is going to happen, but where is it going to go? How's it going to end? Where's it going to go from here? What's going to happen in the next chapter? How does this add up? Where does this add up? Like, it still keeps you questioning and thinking and things like that, which is all you can really ask for when you're reading a book, really, at the end of the day, right? Especially like a thriller or horror or something along those lines. So although it was a little bit predictable, I still really enjoyed it for that reason. And the ending, the climax of it, I didn't feel was very long. I didn't feel like it was long enough, to be completely honest with you. I feel like the climax was maybe a chapter or 2 chapters or something like that. But there's so much suspense throughout the whole thing. That's one thing that this book is really, really good at. It's building tension and suspense throughout the whole entire experience and the whole story, start to finish. But there's so much lead up and so much kind of suspense and things like that, that the payoff doesn't feel maybe quite as good as it could be or should be at the end. I feel like it could have been a little bit more climactic. It was a little bit anticlimactic for me personally, at least on my first read through. Maybe if I reread it in the future I might feel otherwise or think otherwise, but yeah, all in all it was still a great experience. I still really enjoyed it, and I'm really excited to get into the Surprise Party, the next book in this kind of collection of books right here. What are your thoughts and your feelings on the Fear Street series, Fear Street books, The New Girl, all of these sorts of things? Have you read them? Have you revisited them? Do you have them in your collection? All of those things, let me know down below. I'd love to talk about it. But otherwise, once again, I really appreciate it that you check out this video and you watch, and hopefully you watch through to the end. And there's plenty more videos like this on the channel for you to check out as well. But for now, this has been Fear Street. the new girl, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace!